right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me this morning. We're going to start seated, so make sure that you can find a comfortable seat, maybe up on a pillow or a bolster if you have one. A folded blanket or towel just under the hips can be really nice. Any little lift in the hips can kind of take that pressure off the low back. So finding your comfortable seat. And then before you come into stillness, or if you've been in stillness for a while already, maybe just find a little bit of movement. Maybe roll the shoulders. Maybe turn the head gently from side to side. Or maybe nod up and down. Just getting a little bit of movement into the body before we settle. Maybe taking a seated stretch, reaching the arms up if that feels good. Maybe taking a couple of wrist rolls. All right. And then last but not least, maybe rocking a little bit in your seat. Forward and back, side to side. Just kind of noticing where you're distributing the weight. And then see if you can come into stillness with the head stacked directly over the heart, directly over the hips, so everything is in line in the spine. And then find just a gentle tuck of the chin, so make sure you're not sticking the chin too far forward, just a gentle tuck, lengthening the back of the neck. And then if it's comfortable, go ahead and close the eyes or allow them to soften. If you don't feel comfortable closing the eyes today, just find one point on the floor a few feet out in front of you to gently rest your gaze. And then just begin to check in with your body. Noticing any areas that you might be feeling a little tense, a little stiff, a little sore. Seeing if you can feel this long line of the spine. So imagining the top of the head growing a little bit taller. Imagining the tailbone sinking down a little bit more towards the floor. And see if you can soften the shoulders. And tagging a little bit of weight into each elbow, into each knee. And beginning to deepen the breath. And seeing if you can smooth out each inhale and each exhale. And using the exhales to start to release any of that tension that you noticed in the body, if you can. Just gently directing the breath into those areas, taking your awareness to those stiff or sore places. And just seeing if you can use your exhales to soften. Excuse me. And then I invite you to think about the concept of flexibility. Today's practice, we're going to be working on cultivating flexibility. And often when you talk about flexibility in yoga, it's one of the most common things that I hear as a teacher, as a practitioner of yoga, is that a lot of times people think that they aren't flexible enough to do yoga. that you need to twist yourself into all kinds of shapes, that you're not doing it right if you are not bending completely or twisting completely. And in my opinion, the flexibility in the body in yoga just comes over time. Everyone has a different level of flexibility in the body. But through the tools of yoga, through your breath, through use of props, through building a regular routine of practicing, the flexibility in the body will come. I actually think that it's more important to cultivate flexibility in the mind. So flexibility in the mind is a challenging one in all aspects of life. And it's particularly challenging in yoga to arrive in this space with your breath on your mat and have enough mental flexibility to meet yourself where you are every day. Some days you'll use props, some days you won't. And to recognize what the body is telling you. To acknowledge that your shapes are not going to look the same as mine. They're not going to look the same as anyone else's. I'm cultivating my own mental flexibility to do what's right for my body. And while I'm guiding you in proper alignment in the use of props, my shapes may not be correct for you. So just something to think on during your practice today. So take a few more deep, deep breaths here. And then consider if you can give yourself permission to be more mentally flexible during our practice today. To consider if it really feels good in the body to move into a certain stretch, or if you're doing it that way because it's the way you think you should be doing it. Seeing if you can draw the breath all the way down into the belly. And taking one more breath cycle here to just give yourself that permission. To acknowledge that this is a journey that we cultivate over time. And just to keep an open and flexible mind. And slowly allowing some movement to come back into the body. Wiggling the fingers, wiggling the toes. And then allowing the eyes to open if they're closed. And let's inhale, reach the arms up. Press the palms together and take them down the center line to your heart. And we're going to keep the palms together. This time, inhale, press up. Exhale, open the arms wide and down. Let's do a couple more times. Inhale, reach. Press the palms together. Exhale, hands down to the heart. And inhale to reach up. Exhale, open wide and float the arms down. One more time, just like that. Inhale, reach, really spread the fingers. Exhale, hands come down to the heart. And inhale, hands reach up. Exhale, open them wide and release them down. Very nice. This time we're just going to inhale and reach. And exhale, come into a seated forward fold. So if you're sitting up on a bolster or a pillow, you may have to adjust your seating. Feel free to come off of it if that's more comfortable. Maybe find a gentle rocking motion here. Maybe turn the head gently side to side. Notice if your tailbone has started to lift off of the floor or whatever you're sitting on. See if you can shift the weight back so that the tailbone is pressing down. And then if it feels comfortable, gently walk the hands to the right. Left hip is nice and heavy, softening the head and neck. And then walk the hands through center over to the left. Breathing into the right side body. The right hip is dropping down. And then walk the hands back to center. Take one breath here in center. And then hug the belly button in. Slowly start to walk yourself back up. All right. So let's take the feet as wide as our yoga mat. And you can do this still up on a bolster or a towel or a folded blanket. If you're on a block, I would recommend coming off of it. We're going to move a little bit in the hips. So just start to take some windshield wipers. If you are up on a bolster, your knees may not go as far, and that's totally fine. We're just warming it up. Maybe lifting the toes and pressing into the heels here, or vice versa, pressing into the balls of the feet and lifting the heels. And then the next time your knees are over to the right, let's stay there. And we're going to turn to the right as well. So we're coming into our twist. You want a little bit of brightness in the feet. Left hand's going to come to the right leg. Right hand can come behind. Sit up nice and tall here. And then shift the weight in the hips. Sit back just in the hips, back into that left hip just a little bit. If this is causing you like any pain or pinching in the low back or hip, just come out of it a little bit. If you have really tight IT bands, this is a great stretch, but sometimes it can be a little pinchy. Just take one more deep, deep breath. And then slowly release, come back to center. And we'll drop the knees to the other side. So dropping them over to the left, a little brightness in the feet, so a little activation, protecting the knees. Right hand's gonna come to the left leg. You're sitting up nice and tall. And then shift the weight in the hips, sitting back into that right hip just a little bit. And then notice if you're leaning really far back. You don't want to be leaning back with the spine. So the spine stays nice and straight and tall. And you're just shifting, it's a very small movement. Shifting that weight into that right hip. Give it one more breath wherever you are. And then slowly unwind. Let's come back to center. Let's take our feet wide again, maybe even widen them a little bit. And if you'd like, you can use a block here in the center, kind of to lift the floor up to you, or you can just have your hand in the center. So we're going to put our left hand in the center. The fingertips are going to face to the right. And I'm going to use my left elbow to kind of gently press on my left inner thigh, my inner knee. And I'm pressing back with that knee. So I'm creating a little bit of tension. And then on the inhale, I'm going to reach my right arm up overhead. And give it one more breath. And slowly release. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Right hand comes into the center. Fingertips are going to face the left. Gentle press with that right elbow and right knee. And inhale, send the left fingertips up. Feeling that length in the left side body. And then slowly release. You can go ahead and scoot your block aside. We're going to come into table. So take your time getting there. So making sure that you have a towel or some pads if you need it on the knees or the wrists. And then coming into your table, knees directly underneath the hips. Hands can be directly under the shoulders or they can be a little bit in front to take some of that pressure off the wrists. And then when you're ready, press all 10 knuckles down. Press the tops of the toes down into your mat. And keeping this connection, we'll start to move through cat-cow. So inhale, belly drops, tailbone and top of the head gently lift. And exhale, rounding through the spine. Belly button draws in, chin draws to chest. Really press your hands and feet into the mat. Inhale, coming into your cow. Belly drops, heart looks forward. Exhale, rounding into your cat. Continue this movement with your own breath now. Maybe seeing if you can slow this cat-cow down today. Really feeling this movement through the spine. And then you can stay with this, or you can begin to find any other movement that feels good, maybe shifting the hips side to side, looking over one shoulder and then the other. Maybe circling the hips, or taking any other variation of cat-cow that feels good. And just adding in some organic movement, warming up through the spine. And notice if there are any stories that you're telling yourself about what type of movement you should be doing, or any stories you're telling yourself about your body. Maybe that you're feeling too stiff today, maybe that you're feeling not flexible enough. And give yourself that permission again to just let those stories go, to remain flexible in the way you think about yourself and your practice. And then when you're ready, come back to table. We're going to keep our left hand planted. Inhale, let's send the right fingertips up. And exhale, thread the needle. Releasing onto the right side of the head. If you need a little bit of a lift, you can take a block under the head today. And breathing into the back of that right shoulder, into the left side body. You can extend that left hand towards the top of the mat. You can extend the left leg if you'd like, toes curled under. Breathing space and length into the spine. And seeing if you can find places to soften. And give it one more breath wherever you are. And then release that left knee if it was lifted. Draw the left hand back. Use it to gently help you unwind. Come back to table. And we'll keep the right hand planted. And on your inhale, left fingertips reach. Exhale, thread the needle on the left side. And take a moment to set up here, to take your time. Maybe you're just staying right where you land. Maybe you're extending that right hand. Maybe you're lifting it to the low back or up towards the ceiling. And breathing into the side body. Seeing if you can release into it a little bit more for one more breath. And then release that right knee if it was lifted. Draw the right hand back. Use it to help you unwind, nice and slow. If you were using a block, go ahead and set it aside. So from your table, go ahead and pad that left knee if you need to. We're going to take the right foot out to the side with the right knee bent, and then we're going to come on up. So a towel under the right knee, a towel under the left knee or a yoga pad can be really nice. Just give you that little extra support. So press the weight a little bit into that right foot. So you're not really leaning over. It's not really a full side lunge, but you are shifting the weight a little bit over there. So that foot is nice and connected. And then inhale, reach the arms up, grab a hold of the right wrist and gently pull to the left. Still pressing into the right foot. And if it's comfortable for you, see if you can lift the chest a little towards the ceiling so you're opening your heart. And then slowly come back up. Release that right forearm to the right thigh. Left hand can come to that left hip. Press the left hip forward. And then if you'd like from here, you can just try and open the chest to the left, or you can sweep that left arm up and overhead. Notice if you're dumping all the weight into that right forearm. See if you can lift from the core. And then slowly release. Let's release the hands down. Go ahead and drop that right knee. Take the knees together, big toes together. And just drop your hips right. Look over the left shoulder. And come back to center. Drop your hips left, look over the right shoulder. And come back to center. Let's do the other side. So pad the right knee if you need to. We're going to take that left foot out to the side. Left knee is bent. Walk the hands back and come on up. And then same thing here. Make sure that left foot is planted strongly and lean a little bit of your weight into it. And then inhale, reach the arms up, grab hold of the left wrist and gently pull over to the right. Opening the heart just a little bit towards the ceiling. And then slowly come back up. Release that left forearm to the left thigh. And again, maybe opening from here, pressing that right hip a little bit forward, maybe opening the chest. And if you'd like, sweep that right arm up. Give it one more breath. And slowly release. Let's release the hands. Go ahead and drop that left knee. Take the knees together, toes together one more time. Drop your hips to the left, look over the right shoulder. And come back to center. Drop the hips right, look over the left shoulder. And come back to center. All right. We're going to come down onto our belly. So take a moment to get yourself set up. Making sure that you're using good form to come all the way down. And when you arrive, just allow the palms to stack and release your forehead to the top of your hands. See if you can soften all the muscles in your body. Just releasing everything down into the mat. And taking a few deep breaths into the low back. And then when you're ready, lifting the head, bringing the palms back underneath the shoulders so they're hugged in close to the rib cage here. And then release the forehead down to your mat. We're going to press the pubic bone, the hip bones into your mat. Press the tops of the feet down and hug the elbows into the side body. So we're going to do our baby cobra rolls here. So on your inhale, gently lifting through the chest and the forehead, your gaze is staying straight down, elbows pull back. Exhale, lowering. Inhale, lifting, glutes are engaged, pressing the hips down. Exhale, release. Let's do 2 more. Inhale, gently rolling up. Doesn't have to be a big lift. Exhale, releasing down. Last one, inhale to lift. And exhale to lower. And this time when we lift, we're going to stay lifted. And we're just going to play here with maybe lifting 1 foot at a time and letting it hover. Or you can lift both feet and let them hover. So you're really pressing the hip bones down, glutes are engaged here. Draw the elbows and shoulders back towards your feet. Take 1 more breath wherever you are. And slowly release. Release onto the right ear, the right side of the head. And let the arms go back by your sides. And let them just release. Take 3 deep, full breaths into the back body. And then take the forehead back to the mat. Take your palms underneath the shoulders 1 more time. Press the hip bones down. Draw the elbows back as you roll up. And then same thing here. These are locust variations. So you can lift 1 leg at a time and let it hover before setting it down. You can lift both. And you can do the same thing with the hands, lifting 1 at a time and then setting them back down, or lifting them both. If you're lifting them both, squeezing the shoulder blades together, hugging the elbows down, gaze is still straight down. Take 1 more breath and slowly release. Release onto the left ear, arms back by the sides. 3 deep breaths into the back body. And then take the forehead back to the mat. Take the palms underneath the shoulders 1 more time. And this time we're just going to use them to press back and up, coming to our table. And then all the way through to child's pose or to puppy pose, whichever feels better for you. If your shoulders are feeling tight, bend the elbows even more. Take them out to the outer edges of your mat to create more space. And breathing into the back body, melting the front body down towards your mat. And then just check in with yourself for a moment. Has anything arisen so far in your practice? Any poses where you were feeling less flexible than you think you should be? Any poses that were not feeling great today? And just acknowledging that your level of flexibility in the body and in the mind is going to be different every day. And it's going to be different from everyone else's level. And that's okay. You've shown up for yourself on your mat today, and that's helping you to cultivate this flexibility in both the mind and the body. Take one more deep, full breath here. And then slowly walk your hands back. Pressing back up. And let's come to a seat. So if you need your towel or your bolster, again, we're going to be seated for a few minutes, so you can go ahead and grab it if you'd like. So finding your comfortable seat, we're going to get into the shoulders a little bit. So let's take the right arm across the chest. And then notice, I can adjust my mic here a little. Notice how your shoulder is feeling. So you don't want the shoulder lifting up towards the ear. You really want it to stay more parallel to the floor. And if it's uncomfortable for this arm to be straight, you can bend the elbow and rest that right hand on the left shoulder. It's going to change the stretch a little bit. Take one more breath here. And then slowly release. Let's take the left arm across the chest now. Same thing, notice if your shoulder is creeping up towards the ear, see if you can gently press it down. And then if it's more comfortable for you to bend the elbow and rest that left hand on the right shoulder, you can. Give it one more deep, deep breath into the back of that shoulder. And then slowly release. This time we're going to take the right hand and we're going to reach it for the back of the right shoulder, and we're bending that elbow. So depending on how much tightness you have around the shoulder today, you may be able to lift the elbow up more, or it may be a little bit more forward. That's okay. So either taking the hand to the back, to the tricep here, the back of the arm, or you can take it up and overhead. But notice if you're really squishing the shoulders and head down here, maybe take it back here. And then if you'd like, you can just hold here if this is enough of a stretch for you today. If you'd like a little bit more, then go ahead and gently press that elbow back. Or if you're up overhead, then you're gently pulling the elbow back. So that's going to intensify the stretch. If this is too much, just go back to holding instead of pressing. So breathing wherever you are. See if you can soften that right hand. It doesn't need to be very involved at all. Take one more deep, deep breath here. And then slowly release the left hand, release the right arm. Give the arms a little shake here, maybe roll the shoulders a couple of times. It's a pretty intense stretch. And let's move to the other side. So left elbow bends, left hand comes to the back of the left shoulder. And then again, each side is different. So listening to the body, practicing that flexibility of the mind, knowing when you need to come out of something or modify. Maybe you just want to stay here holding or up overhead, just holding the elbow where it is. Maybe that's enough of a stretch today. Maybe you want to gently press with the fingertips, pressing that elbow back. Or maybe if the arm is up and overhead, maybe you want to gently pull with the fingertips. You're really not trying to get the elbow all the way back. You're just trying to help yourself stretch into it, breathing wherever you are. Give yourself one more deep, deep breath here. And then gently release. Shake the arms out a little bit, do some shoulder rolls. Maybe roll the neck a couple of times. Notice how the shoulders are feeling. And then we're going to do one more stretch for the shoulders. So we're going to move into eagle arms. And eagle arms are not for everyone. So you can always return to that arm across the shoulder. You're going to get that, or I'm sorry, the arm across the chest. You're going to get that same opening in the shoulder. It's going to be less intense on the elbows and on the arms. So if you want to come into eagle, you're going to bend the right elbow. You're going to take the left arm underneath, and you're going to try and take that arm up. So even if your arm is here, but your elbows are still crossed, that's fine. That's close enough. If you can try and take the backs of the hands together, or you can even wrap the hands. So eagle is a pretty intense stretch. So just really recognizing where you are today, what feels best in your body. And then wherever you are in eagle, you can just stay here, breathing into the back of that shoulder. It's already pretty intense. If you want to get a little bit of a stretch in the rotator cuff, and I caution you to move very gently here. If you have any shoulder issues at all, please just stay where you are. If your shoulders are healthy and you just want a little extra stretch, then you're going to start to rotate that right arm back to the right, just a little bit. So you're going to start to feel that right away. If this is too much with the bind, I'm going to come out of it and show you what else you can do. You can just bend the right elbow and try and press that hand back. You're still going to get a little bit of a stretch there. It just won't be as intense. So wherever you are, upright or tilting a little bit to the right, take one more deep, deep breath. And then nice and slow, start to come out of it. And maybe roll the shoulders, maybe reach the hands up and then down. That's a really intense stretch. So let's move into the other side. We're going to build this. So your starting place, if you know that you have some shoulder issues, any injuries in the shoulder, just taking that left arm back across the chest and opening the shoulder from here. If you want to move into any form of eagle, you're going to bend the left elbow, take the right arm underneath. And then again, even if your hands are this far apart, that's totally fine. You're still stretching the shoulder. You can work to get the backs of the hands to touch, or you can do the full bind, whatever's comfortable for you. And maybe wherever you are, you're staying more upright with the arms. Maybe one of your shoulders is more sensitive than the other. So just noticing if you want that rotator cuff stretch, moving with caution, very gently drawing the left hand over to the left. If you're binding, you can kind of use the leverage of that right hand to help guide you. If you're not binding, you're just kind of rotating from here. So wherever you are, breathing deeply into the shoulder. Give it one more breath. And then nice and slow, start to release. Maybe rolling the shoulders a couple of times. Again, maybe taking the arms up overhead. You can even interlace the fingers and press them up. All right. Okay. Very nice, everyone. Good work. All right. I'm going to come off of my bolster because we're going to move in the legs a little bit more. So go ahead and grab a block if you have one nearby. And let's take our legs nice and wide. And wide does not necessarily mean that you're going to be taking them super wide in the splits. Some people are able to do that. That's totally fine. I am not one of those people. So no one is auditioning to be a cheerleader today. So go ahead and flex the feet so you have some energy running through the legs. And then let's take the left hand onto the left leg. You can also be in front or behind. And you're gonna lean to the left as you reach that right arm up and overhead. So getting a little bit of a side bend here. Give it one more breath. And then slowly come back up. Same thing on the other side. So right hand is going down the leg. It can also go in front or behind. Left arm is going up and overhead. Still flexing the toes, keeping that energy in the legs. And then slowly come back. Go ahead and grab that block if you've got it and take it out in front. I like to start with mine on the highest setting. It kind of gives me something to hold on to or to rest my forehead on, depending on how I'm feeling each day. So let's take the hands into the middle between the legs. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. And exhale, start to walk yourself forward. Coming only to where you first start to feel that stretch in the legs and the back. Feet are still flexed and active. And then pausing here. Breathing here, finding a gentle tuck of the chin. Maybe this is where you want to stay. You can always take the block on a lower setting or on the highest setting and rest your forearms on it. You may find that after a couple of breaths, your body starts to release a little bit into the pose. Maybe you can walk your hands a little bit further forward. So still finding a gentle tuck of the chin. And maybe even using that block as a little bit of leverage. You can hold on to it out in front of you. Kind of helps you to keep the chest a little bit open. Breathing wherever you are. And give it one more deep, deep breath. And then slowly release the hands. Start to walk yourself back. And let's bend the knees and take the soles of the feet together. And we're going to take the feet pretty far away from us today. So sometimes we pull them a little closer in cobbler's pose. We're creating more of a diamond. So taking the feet away. And if you'd like, you can use your block or a pillow here. I like to put my block on the highest setting on top of my feet. It may seem a little wobbly, but once I release my head, it's not going to be. If you don't have a block or you don't want to use one, you can also use a bolster or a pillow. That's totally fine. We're just trying to come into a more released and relaxed pose today. So inhale, lifting the arms up. And exhale, just finding a fold, letting the back round, releasing the hands forward. You can release your head to the block or the pillow, whatever is resting on your feet if that's comfortable. And your hands can stay down in front, or you can open the palms up to the ceiling. Taking some deep, deep, full breaths into the back body. And give it one more deep breath here. And then draw the belly button towards your spine. Slowly start to walk yourself back up. And let's set the block aside. We're going to need both our block and our strap when we come down to our back. So set the block within reach, set your strap within reach. If you don't have a strap, go ahead and grab a towel to use as a little arm extender here. And then make your way onto your back. So coming down onto your back nice and slow. And when you get there, just take your feet as wide as your yoga mat and do some windshield wipers with the knees. Dropping them nice and slow, side to side. And then when you're ready, take the feet back to hip distance apart. We're going to grab our block and we're going to lift the hips just enough to slide the block under the sacrum. If you don't have a block, you can always use a pillow here. Just getting a little bit of a lift in the hips coming into our supported bridge. And then just allowing the weight of the body to release over the block. You may need to make some adjustments. That's totally fine. Letting the palms open by your sides, getting that full opening in the shoulder. Finding a little tiny lift of the chin up towards the ceiling to protect that curve in the back of the neck. And breathing into the belly here. Really feeling the belly expand towards the ceiling. Feeling your body release over the block. And I'm just going to stay here today. If you want to, you can explore a little bit of movement or a couple of different poses. You can take the feet wider and experiment with how that feels. You can extend one leg long and then the other, getting a slightly more intense back bend. If you want to take legs up the block, you're welcome to, taking the feet up towards the ceiling. We're not going to be here for very long though, so just breathing wherever you are. Go ahead and take one more breath. If you're taking legs up the block, go ahead and rebend the knees, or if the legs are straight out in front of you, and release the feet to the mat. And then we're going to stay on our block and we're going to hug that right knee in. So if you need to use a strap here, you can around the back of the right knee, or you can just kind of grab a hold on, I'm kind of grabbing hold on either side of the thigh. And then you're going to extend that left leg long. If that's uncomfortable, you can always keep the left knee bent. But if you're extending the leg, you're flexing the foot, you're pressing that left thigh down towards the mat. And then you're going to open that right knee out to the right just a little bit. So I like to kind of use my right hand to brace my right leg so I don't feel like I'm going to fall off the block. And then I just kind of use my left hand on my left hip bone just as a reminder to keep that leg really active. Go ahead and take one more breath wherever you are. And then take that right knee back to center. Release the right foot to the mat, rebend that left knee, and we're going to switch. So left knee comes into the chest, gently grab hold of it. Right leg extends long, flex the foot, press that right thigh down. And then when you're ready, open that left knee out to the left just a little bit. Breathing. And give it one more breath wherever you are. And then draw the left back to center. Release the left foot to the mat. Rebend that right knee. Press into the feet just enough to lift the hips and remove your block or your pillow and roll down gently through the spine. And then when your hips land, you can go ahead and draw the knees into the chest, maybe rock a little side to side, or maybe row the knees apart from each other and then together again. Make sure if you're circling or rowing that you go in both directions. And then we're going to release the feet back to the mat. Knees are still bent. And we're going to grab our strap or our towel. Oops. And then go ahead and bend that right knee, take it up to the chest, and we're going to take the strap around the bottom of the right foot, extending that foot up towards the ceiling. So you can keep as much of a bend in that right knee as you need to here, as much as feels comfortable to you. You can point and flex the right foot, getting a little stretch on both sides of the leg. And then go ahead and flex that right foot and take both ends of your strap or your towel into the right hand. And we're going to extend that left leg long. And once again, press the thigh down, really engaged on that leg as if you were standing up on it. Flexing the right foot as well. Inhale here and exhale. We're going to start to open the right foot out to the right. So moving nice and slow, only coming as low as feels good to you where you can still keep that left hip dropping down. So both shoulders should be on the mat. The left glute should still be touching, so maybe your leg is higher than mine, or maybe it's lower than mine. If you do have more flexibility in the hips than I do, and your foot is able to come all the way down to the floor, please don't let it rest on the floor. You want it to be a little bit lifted. Take one more breath. And then nice and slow, engage your core. Start to draw that right foot back up to center. We're going to switch both ends of the strap into the left hand this time. And then you're going to start to slowly take that right foot over to the left. The right glute is going to lift now. Bend that right knee if you need to. So this is going to be a very deep stretch for the IT band that runs along the side of the leg. You may even feel it in the low back and in the glutes a little bit. So bending that knee is going to make this stretch less intense. You can open the right arm out to the side if that feels good. Right foot is still flexed and active, as if you're pressing it into a wall. Take one more breath here, and you're trying to keep that right shoulder blade on the mat, but the right hip is lifted. And then nice and slow, start to come back. Rebend that right knee, rebend the left knee. You can release the strap from the right knee and take your feet as wide as your yoga mat and do those windshield wipers one more time. Maybe even shaking the head a little side to side or turning the head a little side to side with the knees. And then taking the feet back to hip distance apart. We're going to do the other side. So bending the left knee, hugging it into the chest, taking your strap or towel around the bottom of the left foot and extending that foot up to the ceiling. Breathing here, maybe pointing and flexing the left toes. Remembering that you can have a really big bend in that left knee if that feels better, or a little bend, whatever feels good to you here. This is one of those poses, one of these sequences where people feel often that they aren't flexible enough. So just remember that we're practicing flexibility in the mind. Flexibility with the body will come. There's no need to force that. It will happen automatically as you continue to practice. So go ahead and flex the left foot. We're going to take both ends of the strap into the left hand and extend that right leg long. And then flex that right foot, press the thigh down, and your exhale, start to open that left foot out to the left. You may be opening it just a little, you may be opening it a lot. Keep both feet flexed and active and bend that left knee as much as you need to. So here you are trying to keep that right hip and glute down. Both shoulders are down. Try and soften the face. Take one more breath. And then slowly start to bring the left toes back up to center. Switch both ends of the strap or towel into the right hand. And nice and slow, start to take that left foot over to the left. To the right. Your left hip is going to lift now. Left arm can open out to the side, or you can take a cactus arm, half cactus arm over there. Left foot is still really flexed and active, and you can bend the left knee as much as you need to here, especially if you're feeling any pain or tightness on that left hip or left glute. Deep, deep, full breaths. Give it one more deep, deep breath here. And then nice and slow, bend the left knee a bit if it wasn't already, and start to bring that left leg back to center. Bend the knee a lot, release the strap. You can rebend the right knee as well. You can set the strap aside now, we're done with it. Take your feet wide, take those windshield wipers one more time. And then the only place we have to go from here is into Shavasana. So I invite you to find any other pose that you might need that might feel good on the body. Maybe you're taking the soles of the feet together, knees wide. You can even place blocks under the knees for support. Maybe you're drawing the knees into the chest. Maybe taking a happy baby or a full body stretch. Or maybe any other supine twist that would feel good here. So exploring some movement or some stillness, getting the body ready for Shavasana. And when you're ready, finding any props you need, any blankets or pillows or bolsters to support you in your final resting pose. Finding any comfortable pose that works for your body here. Knees can stay bent, legs can extend. You can even take the block back under the sacrum and take that supported bridge. Hands can rest gently on the belly, or they can open at the sides. And when you've found your comfortable final resting pose, allowing the eyes to soften or close. And let's all take a deep, deep breath in, draw it all the way down to the belly. And open the mouth, sigh it out. Deep, deep, full breath in. Long letting go, sigh out. And one more time. Deepest breath you've taken all morning. And let everything go. Feeling the mat supporting you here, cradling your body. And feeling all the points of the body that are touching the mat begin to soften. Allowing the muscles of the face to release, softening across the forehead, softening the space between the eyebrows, and letting your jaw go, letting the shoulders feel heavy, the arms and legs releasing to gravity. The chest and belly are nice and soft and relaxed. No need to hold anything anymore. Wrists and ankles are heavy. And allowing yourself to absorb your practice, releasing anything that's no longer serving you here. And creating space for new energy. And slowly beginning to bring your attention back into your body, back to your breath. And beginning to deepen the breath once more. And beginning to find any little movements in the fingers and toes that feel good. Maybe drawing the knees to the chest or taking a full body stretch. And when you're ready, making your way onto one side and pressing back up to a comfortable seat, allowing the eyes to soften or close when you arrive. Sitting up nice and tall. And if it's comfortable, drawing the hands together at the heart. Sealing in your practice today, taking a moment of gratitude to yourself for getting on your mat today, for cultivating this flexibility in the mind, and remembering that it's a process. It never ends. So continuing to practice this flexibility of the mind whenever you get on the mat. I thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.